Today, I'm going to share with you one tip that you can incorporate into your business that's going to make sure this new hire that you found stays with you longer than just a couple weeks. You found the perfect candidate. They went through your whole hiring process. You made the offer, and tomorrow is their first day on the job. You're so excited because finding good employees is so hard, right? We hear that all the time. So now maybe some anxiety is setting in because unfortunately you have had this process of finding good people, training them, and then they only stay for maybe like 3 to 6 months, and then you're back on that process of looking for the next great candidate. Well, today I want to talk to you about one tool, just one simple thing that I suggest you put in place to improve the retention of your new hire. I'll go through it. It's just the growing pains of building your business, especially sometimes in a service-based company, because the people who come to work for you, whether they're technicians in home services or skilled labor, those types of positions, it's really a lot harder for someone to kind of fly under the radar and just do like a mediocre or not so good job and be there for years. When someone is an in-home service technician or they're in the skilled trades, maybe a plumber, electrician, if they're not doing a good job or they don't know their job or they're not fitting in, sometimes it stands out a little bit quicker to us because customer feedback is bad or not where it should be, or maybe they're not bringing in as much revenue on their tickets as you expect them to. So like I said, we all go through it. In my business, we went through this seemed to be like never-ending cycle of always hiring and looking for good talent. And we would get people to come work for us, and then they would just stick around for a little while and move on to the next thing. It got to be so frustrating and very like energy draining because that's a lot of work. And what was it? What were we doing wrong? Or once we learned this simple thing that I'm going to share with you today, it made a world of difference. So today, what I want to talk to you about is your onboarding process. What is your onboarding process, and do you even have one? So that's my tip, right? You can stop watching here, is have your onboarding process. So I'm going to share a little bit more with you than just that today. I'm going to give you some tips on how you can implement a strong onboarding process and make sure that it is really retaining this good talent that you've worked so hard to find. But the first thing I want to talk about is some companies and business owners think that they have an onboarding process, but they really don't. So why this was fresh in my mind is because last week I met with a couple of coaching clients, people who were potential coaching clients. They hadn't come on board with us yet to fix their business, but we do an assessment and we talk about, where's your business at now and what's your biggest challenge? And of course, a lot of people say finding good employees or keeping those good employees. And so one particular person in particular that I was talking to, I specifically asked them, well, what is your onboarding process? Well, they proceeded to tell me that they did have one and it was spectacular and all this, but upon my further prompting with questions and asking questions about what that process looked like, it turns out that they don't even really have one. In fact, their hiring process is really non-existent either as far as a process. It consisted of maybe a quick phone call or a text with somebody and finding out if they were a warm body that could show up for a job. Well, I'm sorry, but that's just not going to sustain your business and build the kind of company that will last for years and give you the kind of freedom that you're looking for when you build a business. You really must put in some effort into this hiring and onboarding process to make sure that you're getting not just that the people stay, but also that you're getting the right people. And I'm going to share some of that with you in just a minute. So by implementing a strong onboarding system, you're going to retain more new hires. And here's why. The first reason is because you're going to increase buy-in from the person and the retention of that person. When you have structure in your business, such as a strong onboarding process, it's going to make them feel more confident in your business. Wow, look, these people have it together. They're very organized. versus them going to work on the first day and it's just like, okay, well, I need a copy of your driver's license and fill out this, I-9 or whatever the paperwork is. And okay, great, you're going to sit with Susan over here and she's going to show you what to do. Well, that kind of leaves them feeling like, what is this place? They're not organized. Like, who is Susan? What's she going to show me? Is there a process? And by the way, where's the bathroom? Where's my office? Who do I report to? It leaves a lot of unanswered concerns that a new hire might have. Probably have felt that before when you yourself started a new job before becoming a business owner. There's a lot of nerves and anxiety about, am I going to fit in? Am I even going to like this job? What's this company like? So whenever you have a strong structure and system for your onboarding process, you're going to immediately remove a lot of that tension and anxiety from a new hire, and they're going to feel comfort and safety in your business. They're going to feel supported in their new job. The second reason is that it's going to create clarity and confidence in your new hire. They're going to know what you expect of them by you having this system that you follow when they start. They're going to know what they're expected of. They're going to know what they're responsible for. They're going to make better decisions because you've spent the time going over this stuff with them. And also a hidden benefit is that you're going to realize if they're a good fit, because some of the things I'm going to show you that you should be doing on your onboarding day is really finding out if they're a good fit with your mission and values and the whole culture of your company. So did you know that people who come to work for you actually decide in the first 1 to 2 days if they're going to stay? So you have such a short window of time to make sure that you can encourage them to fit in and stay and have confidence in your business. That's a short time, the first 1 to 2 days. So really, first impressions are everything, not just for that new person starting for you, but for you starting for them. Now, they may not quit or move on for a few months because they're probably going to look for another job, but from day one, if they're not feeling confident and supported in your business or like you have it together, they might have already mentally checked out before they even began this job. So now that you know what that tip is to retain these new hires, it's to have a strong, systematized onboarding process. Now what? How do I do that? What does that look like? Now, this is something that I want to share with you because, like I said, with some of the people I've been talking to who are business owners who say that they have an onboarding process, they actually don't. So this is like the meat of this video. I want you to really take some notes here, okay? So the very first thing with your onboarding process, it actually starts after you make the offer to this new person that's going to start for you, because sometimes that's done over the phone or through email after you have done the interview, right? So after that, maybe they have to put in 2 weeks notice, or maybe longer time is going to go by before they actually start working for you. So I want to encourage you to start your onboarding process before they even come in for their first day. So what does that look like? Well, that could be communication through email or text message, checking in, making sure, hey, I just wanted to confirm that we're starting on such and such date, looking forward to you starting with our company, that kind of thing. You can also start sending them some videos to watch about your company. You could, if there's any paperwork that they can fill out before they come in on your first day, communicate with them and send that here, maybe a couple weeks before they start. So there are ways for you to start making them feel like a part of the team before they even come in for that very first day. So let's look at day one on the job. So you have gone through the interview process, you have communicated with them before they get started. So what does day one look like? So something that I thought about that we did in our company was we let people know, listen, day one, you're probably not going to be here till 5 because I just want you're just going to get acclimated. We're going to be here in the office all day. I'm going to take you to lunch, which is another one I'm going to share with you. But just let them know this may not be a full 9 to 5 day. You might be here till 3 or 3:30. So go ahead and set the expectation that this is not going to be a full work day, because for several reasons. I don't want you to put them in the field on the first day. And so they're going to be in the office with you, and a lot of this stuff is just not going to take the full work day. And plus, it's kind of a good way to not overwhelm them on the first day. So just go ahead and set the expectation that this is going to be a little bit shorter of a work day. On day one, you're going to give them their employee manual. You're going to have them fill out their new hire paperwork, get them set up on direct deposit, all of that kind of admin stuff. And that's fine. That can take up like the first little bit of the day. But also, I want you to think about getting to know them as a person, ease them into all of that. It doesn't have to be a rush, hurry, let's get this all filled out. Let them see how the morning team gets ready for the day. If you're a service company, we work with a lot of, trades and blue collar businesses. If you have technicians who are getting ready for their day, just walk them around with you and let them observe the team and see how everyone kind of gets started and gets their day rolling. Introduce them to some people. Let them know that this is our new hire Joe. He started today as his first day. And let him get or her get welcomed to the team in that way. Give them a little tour of the office, show them where everything is. I always like to also have like a new, just like something, a little gift for them at their desk too. Now, you don't have to do this, but it was just something personal that I like to do for people, especially if I was hiring office staff. I would like to give them their own coffee mug or their own water bottle, a notepad, some pens, stuff like that, have it at their desk for them because that's also going to make them feel welcomed and part of the team, like you're excited to have them there. Also, on day one of this, so day one is so important. You're going to hear a lot of pretty much everything, the whole meat and potatoes of this video is about day one because everything, like I said, is on that first impression. So after you've had them fill out their paperwork and you've walked them around and done all of that stuff, some people just give the employees their manual and let them, oh, look through this when you have time. In our business, we actually like to go through the manual with them, and any policies or like procedures or systems that were very important to us, like our on time policy, our sick policy, vacation, our smoking policy, any of those things, we actually read and made sure. Do you understand that? So, this is what this policy says. Does that make sense to you? And do you agree with it? Okay, great. And then they would sign it and we would move to the next one. Something else that we read and really emphasized and made sure with people were our mission, our values, and our purpose. This is key. So, in your interview process, hopefully you have a strong interview process, and that's a whole nother video in itself about making sure you have a strong process for that and finding good people who are going to fit with your culture. But just in case someone has slipped through the cracks, you want to do this on day one, is really go over your mission, values, and purpose. So we would read our mission from the manual and we would explain what it meant to us, why it was important. For instance, our mission in our service company was to provide the most outstanding service experience ever to our clients. And if they were not happy, we would go back out, redo the service, and if they were still unimpressed, we would give them a refund. So we would spend some time around this whole thought and idea of our mission and make sure that this person was on board with delivering that kind of experience to our clients. Listen, Joe, we work for high-end clients. We're not, in and out quick cleaners here. We really give them a really phenomenal service experience. We put on a show for them and make sure that they feel like, wow, this was incredible. I'm going to tell all of my friends and neighbors about this company. Does that feel like a fit for you? Does that seem like the kind of company that you see yourself working for? Can you do that? Great. And then we move on to our next thing, which were our values. So every business should have a mission and values that they have in place to uphold that mission. And so go over those things with this new hire. You want to take this time with them on day one because later on, if you have to correct them on something, you can go back to your mission and say, remember on day one when we went over our mission? What you did today do you think that that delivered our mission to Mrs. Jones? No. Okay, so or if they're showing up late or not on time, okay, which one of our values or policies do you think that you weren't following? So everything can be tied back to your mission and values, but if you didn't spend the time on their onboarding process to really emphasize and value, put that time in with them to make sure that they valued the same things you do, then it's just not going to matter. Okay. Thing I want to encourage you to do for your onboarding process is take them to lunch. Take another office staff with you, another manager, somebody that they're going to be working with or interacting with. Take a couple of people with you and take them to lunch and just get to know them. People are at their most comfortable when they're eating, I feel like. And you're going to have good conversation. You're going to also see how they treat people. How do they treat the servers? How do they treat the counter staff? Did they pick up their garbage and throw it away? Were they courteous? You're going to learn a lot about them if you take them out to lunch. So I definitely recommend that being a part of your first day onboarding with them. Something else I want to really talk about is who are you handing them off to for their training? So we did this two ways. We had some videos that our new hires would watch and then questions that they would answer. So there was, on the computer, there were daily for I think like the first 2 weeks, whether they were office or out in the field staff, that they would go through to watch videos, and it would cover things like what's our mission, what's our values, how do you properly care for a rug, stuff like that. So it was a mix of customer service and technical training and questions that were on these videos. So I recommend having something like that if you can. And honestly, don't stress yourself out about having videos, because before we did, it was just paper. So it was a hand, a written test. And I actually like that along with the video, the written part, because I feel like it really sticks in their mind more if they have to write it or do like a paper test. So maybe a combination of those two together, but until you can do the video, at least do some paper tests, right? Multiple choice questions, have them answer what's the mission and write it out, things like that. So incorporate into your training with a person, showing them how to do the work, some also like books, book and online learning and actual like reading lessons to learn as well. So let's go back to the part about who's training them. I'll share a quick story with you. I was working with a company and helping them, fix their business and get some systems in place. And one of the issues that they were having was that it really felt like their team was disconnected. They were not working towards the same goal. Everybody was doing their own thing, and there was no respect for management or ownership in the company. And right away, like, I identified this one person who worked there in a management position who was very negative and just had a bad attitude. The way that they talked to the owner of this business was just totally unacceptable. And it was just right away, I had this feeling that she probably needed to go. And I told the owner that. And unfortunately, this person kept them. And then we fast forward a few months down the road and we're talking about new hires and people not sticking around in the company and having a bad attitude. And I said, well, who trains them? What's the onboarding process look like? Who's with them the first day? Well, guess who was training them? This person with the bad attitude who totally disrespected ownership and management, didn't follow systems, didn't want to accept any coaching, was just a negative Nelly. That's who her trainer was. And I was like, well, no wonder these people are coming in with such a good attitude, gung ho, and then a couple weeks down the road, they are negative just like everybody else. So I want you to really think about who you're handing your new hires off to. The person doing the training in the company for you. Now, I know you can't do everything, and I'm not saying that, but I am saying I really think that you, or if you are not that involved in the business anymore and you have a key manager in place, that key manager should spend some time with them on the first day. That is who their first impression and that first onboarding process and training needs to be with. From there, whoever you hand them off to do their training for the job skills that they're actually going to be doing for you, you need to make sure that that person has a good attitude. Do they like working for you? Are they a good fit themselves? Are they good at their job? Because this is the person who is going to be training someone new. So make sure whoever it is somebody that you have 100% confidence in training a new person and giving them a good experience, and not going to be out there saying negative things about the company or cutting corners and things like that. So, onboarding is such a huge part of bringing someone new into the business, and it doesn't stop after day one. Now, you're handing them off to that trainer who's going to train them now for who knows. We had like, I forget what it was, 30 days of training or something before they could go on their own. And even then, some people at 30 days weren't quite ready. They remained an assistant because they needed more training before we felt comfortable sending them out as a lead person on a job. So check in. That's my next tip. My last tip is to check in with them. Check in with them. If you're there daily, great. Have a conversation when they come back at the end of the day or in the morning. Ask them how things are going. Do they have any questions? How's their trainer treating them? Kind of thing. You get a feeling for how they're feeling about your business and being a part of the team. And then also check in with their trainer. So our trainers had to, they're the ones who gave them their tests and checked with them and made sure that they were going to get 100% on their test, kind of thing. So check with them too. Ask them how they're fitting in. Hey, how's this guy fitting in? What kind of things do you talk about through the day? Everything he seems normal, kind of stuff. So they know, especially if you're using someone who's been with you for a long time to do the training, they know what you're looking for. They know who fits in there. And so we would have people tell us, I'm not sure if he's going to make it, or yeah, they're doing great. They're a great fit. So just make sure that you have some kind of system in place for following up after you've handed them off. I have some more tools for you for your business. I want you to go to our website, which is skilllevelup.com, and we're going to send you the ebook, The 5 Secrets of a Phenomenal Business. It is an amazing book with the 5 areas of business being covered: sales, marketing, administration, operations, and leadership, which is what we talked about today. Skilllevelup.com and get that free download, and we'll see you on the next one.